You wake up, and something is wrong. Your ceiling is lower. Your bed is smaller. The room feels familiar, but you haven't seen it in years. You sit up, look around. The old posters are back. The desk you forgot about is sitting against the wall. There's a school uniform hanging behind the door. You walk toward the mirror and freeze. You're 13 years old. Again. For a few seconds, you can't breathe. Because you remember everything. You're 32. You remember your first job, your first paycheck, the apartment you lived in, the people you lost, the money you wasted, the investments you ignored, the opportunities you were too scared to take. You remember exactly how your life turned out. And now, you're standing in your childhood bedroom, 13 years old, with everything you know now. You run downstairs. Your mother looks at you. You're going to be late. You stare at her. She's younger. Everyone is younger. You don't say anything, because suddenly, you understand what happened. You haven't been given your old life back. You've been given another chance. But there's one problem.
You don't know how long it will last. Maybe a day, maybe a year, maybe your entire life. And there's only one thing you know for certain. Last time, you didn't understand money. This time, you do. If you like stories that make you look at money differently, subscribe. Because this isn't going to be a list of financial advice. You're going to live through it, one decision at a time. Level 1. The first $100. You're 13, and you have almost nothing. A little birthday money, a little spending money, maybe some cash from helping around the house. Nothing impressive. But this time, you don't spend it. Because you remember what happened before. You remember having $100. You thought $100 was a lot, so you spent it. A game, food, something you wanted. A few weeks later, it was gone, and you barely remembered what you bought. This time, you keep it. You put $20 away, then another 20, then another. Eventually, you have your first $100. And something strange happens. The money itself isn't exciting. What it represents is, you just proved that you can earn money and keep it. You didn't know it then, but that would become one of the most important financial skills of your life. Because making money is only half the game. Keeping it is the other half. A few months later, your friends are talking about a new phone. Everyone wants one. You want one too. You're 13. Of course you do. You check the price. You have enough money. Technically, you could buy it. And for a moment, you almost do. Then you remember being 23. You remember looking at your bank account, wondering where all your money went. You remember how easy it was to turn future money into things you barely cared about later. So you put the phone down. Not forever, just for now. And you learn something. Saying no to something you can't afford isn't the same as saying no when you can't afford it. One is a limitation. The other is a choice. And choices are what you're trying to build. 1 year passes. You're 14, and now you start noticing something. Everyone around you seems to be getting good at something. One friend is incredible at football. Another can draw. Someone else knows everything about computers. And you? You still don't know. The old you thought that meant you weren't talented. The new you knows better. You don't discover your skill. You experiment until you find it. So you try everything: video editing, writing, design, selling, photography, technology. Some things are terrible. Some things bore you. Some things you quit after a week. That's fine. You're collecting information. Then one thing feels different. You can spend hours doing it without checking the time. So you keep going. At first, you're terrible. Then, slightly less terrible. Then, good. And eventually, someone asks you to do it for them. For money. You laugh. You're 14. Why would anyone pay you? But they do. $20, then $50, maybe $100. It's not enough to change your life, but it changes the way you see yourself. You just discovered something. You can create value without waiting for someone to hire you. At 15, you become obsessed with getting better, not with becoming rich, with becoming useful. Your friends are playing games. You're practicing. They're scrolling. You're learning. They're consuming. You're creating. And sometimes you wonder if you're wasting your time. Then someone pays you again and again. The amounts are still small, but you are learning something adults spend years discovering. Income doesn't always come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from becoming harder to replace. Writing, editing, design, sales, technology, communication. Whatever it is, a valuable skill can become an income engine. And the earlier you build it, the longer you have to improve it. Then, you're 16. You finally have some real money. Not a lot, but enough to feel different. And now, people start noticing. A friend asks to borrow money. Someone needs help. You want something. Your family needs something. And suddenly, money becomes complicated. Saving is easy when nobody wants your money. It's harder when everyone has a reason you should spend it. You help where you can, but you also start setting boundaries. Because you realize something. You can't build financial security if every dollar you save disappears the moment someone asks for it. You need a foundation too. So you keep saving. And you keep learning. Then you turn 17. And there's one thing you decide not to postpone. Driving. You remember how many opportunities you missed because you couldn't get somewhere. A job started too early. A client lived too far away. An opportunity appeared and you couldn't reach it. Driving doesn't sound like investing, but it gives you something money can't always buy. Mobility. You learn. You practice. You fail. You try again. Eventually, you pass. And when you hold that license, you realize you're becoming harder to restrict. You can move. You can work. You can build. You can say yes. Then you turn 18. And suddenly, everything gets more serious. You can open accounts in your own name. You can build credit. You can invest more independently. You can work. You can start a business. You can make decisions that will follow you for years. So you start with something boring, a bank account. Then another, one for everyday money, another for emergencies. Because eventually, something will go wrong. Your car will break, your income will disappear, an unexpected bill will arrive. Life doesn't care whether you're prepared. It just happens. So you build an emergency fund. 3 months, maybe 6, whatever makes sense for your situation. And suddenly, you have something you didn't have before. Time. If your job disappears tomorrow, you don't immediately panic. You have a cushion. You can think. You can search. You can say no. You can walk away. You thought the emergency fund was protecting your money. You didn't realize It was protecting your decisions. Then comes credit, and you remember the mistake you made the first time. You thought credit was free money. It wasn't. So this time, you treat it like a tool. You only spend what you can already afford. You pay the balance every month. No pretending. No buying things just because a bank is willing to lend you the money. Because there's a huge difference between using credit and living on credit. One can help build financial flexibility. The other can quietly destroy it. Then you start investing. Not because you're trying to get rich overnight. Because you finally understood something. Your money can work while you work. You don't need to predict the next hot stock. You don't need to trade every day. You don't need to stare at charts at 2 a.m. You need a strategy you can actually stick with. So you invest. And then the market falls. Hard. Your account turns red. You feel sick. For a moment, you want to sell everything. But then you remember, you aren't investing for next Tuesday. You're investing for years. So you close the app and walk away. You just learned one of the hardest lessons in investing. Sometimes, doing nothing is the decision. You're 18. You have a job. And everyone tells you, just focus on your career. You understand why. A job gives you income, experience, structure. But you also remember something. Your salary isn't the only way you can create income. So after work, you build. Maybe it's video editing, maybe writing, maybe design, maybe programming, maybe something completely different. At first, it makes almost nothing. $50, then $100, then $300. It's exhausting. You work after work, weekends, late nights. Sometimes, you wonder why you're doing this. Then one Friday, your side hustle makes more money than you expected. You stare at the payment and realize your job didn't fail. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. It gave you money, experience, discipline, and a way to fund your next move. But now, it's no longer your entire future. It's one part of it. And that changes everything. Because now, you have more than one way to make money. More than one way to grow. More than one way to survive.
A few years pass, and one morning, you open your account. $10,000. You stare at the number. It's not enough to retire. It's not enough to buy a house. It's not enough to completely change your life. But something inside you changes. Because you remember the first $100. Back then, keeping it felt difficult. Now, you have 100 times that amount. And the difference wasn't one massive decision. It was thousands of tiny ones. Saving when you wanted to spend. Investing when you wanted to panic. Learning when you wanted to relax. Working when nobody was watching. And saying no when everyone else was saying yes. You start believing you've figured it out. That's when you make the mistake. You see an investment everyone is talking about. Everyone is getting rich. Friends are posting screenshots. People online are bragging about returns. You remember your future. You think you know what's coming. So you put too much money into it. Then, the market falls. 10%, 20, 30. It keeps falling. You lose thousands. And for the first time, you realize something terrifying. You don't know the future anymore. Because the moment you changed your first decision, the future started changing too.
The person you remembered becoming successful might not become successful anymore.
The business you remembered investing in might never exist. The person you remembered meeting might never cross your path. You thought remembering your future made you unbeatable. It didn't. You weren't living the same life anymore. You were creating a new one. You sit alone that night. Your investment account is down, your side business is struggling, and you have no idea what's coming next. For the first time, you're actually afraid. Not because you're broke, because you don't know. And suddenly, you understand something your older self never did. You were always waiting for certainty, the perfect investment, the perfect career, the perfect business, the perfect moment. You wanted to know exactly what would happen before you acted. But certainty never came. So you waited and watched other people move. This time, you finally understand. You don't need certainty. You need a system. Save something. Invest consistently. Build valuable skills. Control your spending. Protect yourself from emergencies. Increase your earning power. Avoid stupid debt. And give good decisions enough time to work. That's it. It isn't exciting. It isn't a secret. But it works because you can repeat it. You're 25, and your life looks nothing like the one you remember. Some things are better. Some things are worse. Some people are still here. Some aren't. Some investments worked. Some didn't. Some businesses failed. Some opportunities disappeared. But something is different. Money doesn't scare you anymore. You understand what it is. A tool, not an identity, not a scoreboard, not proof that you're better than someone else. A tool. And the purpose of the tool isn't to make you look rich. It's to give you choices. The emergency fund gave you time. Your investments gave your future a chance to grow. Your skills increased your earning power. Your side hustle gave you another source of income. Your discipline gave you control. And time did the rest. Then one night, you sit in a quiet room. You look at your accounts. You look at the numbers. And for the first time, you don't feel excited. You don't feel anxious. You don't feel like you need more. You just feel calm. And that's when you understand the real purpose of everything you did. It wasn't to become rich. It was to become difficult to control. A bad job couldn't completely control you. A broken car couldn't destroy you. An unexpected bill couldn't wipe you out. A market crash couldn't make you panic. And someone else's lifestyle couldn't convince you to destroy your own. You had built something much more valuable than money. You had built options. Then you hear a voice. Wake up. Your eyes open. You're back in your real bedroom. You're not 13. You're your actual age. Your phone is beside you. Your bills are still there. Your bank account is whatever it was yesterday. Nothing magically changed. Except you remember what it felt like to have another chance. And now, you understand something. You don't need to go back to 13. You don't need perfect circumstances. You don't need millions. You don't even need to know exactly where you're going. You just need to stop wasting the advantages you already have. Because one day, you will look back at today the same way you're looking back at 13. And today will feel impossibly far away.
you'll wish you had started earlier. You'll wish you had saved more, learned more, invested sooner. Taken the opportunity, built the skill, made the call, started the business. Whatever it is, you'll wish you had started. So don't make future you wait. Start with what you have, then move forward. One decision, then another, then another. Because wealth isn't built in one moment. It's built quietly, while nobody is watching. And the biggest advantage you can have isn't knowing how to make millions. It's knowing what to do before you have them. So if you could go back to 13, what would you change? Would you invest? Build a skill? Save your first $100? Start a business? Or would you simply stop wasting the time you didn't realize was your greatest asset? Tell me in the comments. And if you want more cinematic POV stories that make you see money, wealth, and your own decisions differently, subscribe, because the next story might put you in a completely different life. Until then, remember this. Your future self isn't asking you to become rich tomorrow. He's asking you not to waste today.